Did we do it? Did we do the thing? I think we did. I'm hitting refresh. Are you hitting refresh? Are we all hitting refresh? Yes! We did it. Hello. Welcome, Booty Mashup fam. All you gym rats who are doing sit and spin. My body is aching and hurting already. But not actually from doing sit and spin, but because Jupiter Gatling and I got vaccinated. We got our second shots yesterday, last night. So like a little more than 24 hours ago. And both of us are starting to feel it. And I will say this, in totally on brand Booty Mashup style, Jupiter Gatling and I mashed up our vaccines. we 4 weeks ago, we got the AstraZeneca vaccine when we went to the doctor last night to get our vax. Yes, shots. Everybody. But when we went to the doctor, they're like, yeah, we don't have any more AstraZeneca. You're going to get biotech Pfizer. And so here we are, mashed up our vaccines. And of course, the German doctor's like, this is even better. But I'm kind of like, are you sure? Or are you just saying that because you ran out of the AstraZeneca shots and now all you have is the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, but whatever. We're both here for it. The sad thing is we both read that when you're taking the AstraZeneca shots, the first shot is the worst, and when you're taking the BioNTech shots, the second shot is the worst. So we apparently got the worst of both vaccines. So I'm actually doing okay. I'm a little low energy. I definitely have body aches. Jupiter Gatling, on the other hand, I mean, we did a fever stream this morning in Germany. Obviously last night for those on North American time. We did After Roll because, of course, I know so many of you are Critters fans of Critical Role, Dungeons & Dragons live stream here on Twitch. And last night was the season finale. No, I can't even say season. That does not even remotely do it justice. The campaign finale of the Mighty Nine. And so it was a big night over on Critical Role. They did a 7-hour live stream. Normally DJ Time does After Roll, but it was like so late. It was like 2 a.m. in California. But leave it to the ones in Germany, the ones in Berlin on European time. It was 11 o'clock in the morning. So we woke up, we did the live stream. I was like, oh, I can definitely feel the pain in my back, like from the vaccine. My arm hurts. And Jupiter, who like totally did flawless Matthew Mercer cosplay, like she was such a trooper. She made it through the DJ set, but was definitely was feeling the pain. So yeah, both of us are a little low energy. I'm glad we're not doing a DJ set, but for tonight. But tonight is Anything But Humans in the we got Happy Hour with PDS Mix filling in for DJ Erison, and DJ Time and Lobster Dust are going to be doing Anything But Humans. Of course, this is one of those themes where it's really all about the Dance Commander Disco. They love dressing up. Well, really, full stop. They love dressing up, but they love dressing up as anything but humans. So we're going all in. DJ Time really wanted to do this theme. So and of course, Tibby, which is Lobster Dust's cat, definitely not human, seemed appropriate. So yeah, they're going to be joining us later. Thanks everyone for being here. But it is now time for, if you've noticed, take a look everyone, I have rebranded I actually didn't really rebrand so much as I went back to the original name of the show. When we started this channel and this show 15 months ago, it was called Mashup Talk. This was actually DJ Time's idea. It's like, you need to do a talk show. Just, have different DJs come on to the show and you just talk about mashups. And we did for a long time. We talked about mashups. And then, I don't know, and then it just sort of turned into Adriana's, hour of ranting where I would just it was definitely like the just chatting show. And it became a little bit, I didn't have guests all that often anymore. It was just me just going off for an hour, which I guess you people were here for. but it really wasn't much of a mashup talk anymore. It was more all right, everybody, it's the weekly meeting with Mom. Let's talk. But the past few weeks, I have been bringing guests back onto the show, a little bit less formal than it was when we first started, which seemed a little bit more, a little bit more talk show, a little bit more podcast style, where I would bring in, our other Booty Mashup DJs, other people in the mashup scene. And now it's just sort of like, let me just bring you on and we're just going to shoot the shit. We are going to do mashup talk, but we're going to shoot the shit. So it's a little less talk show, a little less podcast. So we're still the just chatting category here on Twitch for this show. But I thought I would take it back to Mashup Talk because we're going to talk about mashups, and that's what we've been doing. I've had several guests the past few weeks. I've been wanting to bring PDS Mix back onto the show because, of all the people in our scene, of all the people in the mashup community, I really feel like PDS Mix and I super bond and super geek out on let's talk about the culture, let's talk about the community, let's talk about where we've been, where we're going. We both are very much trying to look at the big picture of this little corner of internet culture and DJ culture and music culture that we've helped create and have been around since nearly the beginning. So I've been trying to get PDS Mix onto the show for the past couple of weeks, but he's been very busy. There's just been a lot going on. And then this past week happened. And actually we had already set it up that we were going to chit chat today, but the past week gave us so much to work with. Oh my God, there's been, I don't know if you guys follow the mashup scene or Booty Mashup on social media. If not, I highly encourage you. Please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. I know a lot of people. I've started in the past year using Twitter way more than I ever used to. I used to be DJ Nate would handle our Twitter account, and then because he was our social media coordinator. And then when the Corona apocalypse started, I couldn't afford to pay anybody anymore because no parties to bring in money. So I took over all the social media. And oh hey Jupiter Gatling, what's up?
Yeah, you use the FaceTime camera, not the...
No, it's the Brio camera, I'm telling you. Yeah, it's the Brio camera. Why?
Turn it off.
Turn what off?
Turn it off.
Turn what? Oh, okay, hold on. We apparently have to check something. Turning it off, see?
Oh, really?
And now I'm going right, yeah.
But you look so dark and different.
I don't know. I think it's because I'm sitting down and I'm not high. I don't know. Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Also, usually you have the contrast and the yellow.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, actually, yeah, normally I do, I've got hold on, wait, let's see, where am I at? Oh, we have this set on the color settings, usually I'm a little bit more, oh, there we go, does that look better? I look a little bit more, okay, you guys, this is what I really look like, this nice moon tan, this gothy pallor. But normally on my show, I do it like this. So see, I'm looking a little less healthy now. Now I've got that California sun-kissed
No,
glow,
you look
don't
natural,
I?
and I thought that's odd, so I came in here to fix your camera.
Can you get me a beer lady?
Okay, it's gonna take 10 minutes because I'm not so fast today.
Okay, I think I'm gonna need a beer for this chat. All right, so like I was saying, this past week, and there was a lot going on in the mashup scene. And if you follow us on Twitter or follow several creators, mashup creators and producers on Twitter, then you might have seen there was a little bit of a kerfluffle, a bit of a drama. So I'm gonna give you the brief rundown, and then PDS Mix and I we're gonna chat about it. So basically, about a week ago, like 6 days ago, it happened after last week's weekly meeting. DJ Cummerbund had posted, actually cross-posted one of his TikToks. He's quite popular on TikTok. He's really leveraged his YouTube fame into TikTok. He has like 200,000 followers that he's amassed in like only a year. So just well done. But he posted a TikTok of a mashup that was somewhat of a curious choice for a mashup to post. It was Olivia Rodrigo's brand new song, Good For You, mashed up with Misery Business by Paramore. Now, granted, as I actually said, oh, thank you. As I actually said in a response to this tweet from DJ Cummerbund, I was like, because someone had pointed out, hey, Adam Music had already made this track like 2 weeks ago, and didn't just make this mashup, but like went super viral with it, like got tons of mainstream media attention. It was written up on tons of blogs. He even got interviewed by Ryan Seacrest for his radio show. And I kind of thought Adam Music also does original music. He just put out a debut single. Adam Music is in the mashup community. He's also on YouTube. Kind of got a little bit of a viral hit last year with Toxic by Britney Spears. With WAP, it was when everyone was making WAP mashups. He made one of the first ones. It took hold. So Adam Music definitely has a name for himself in YouTube in the mashup scene. Adam is his real name. And young kid, 20 years old, music production student based in LA. And so he made this exact same mashup like 2 weeks prior. It had blown up. It had gone viral. Like I said, Ryan Seacrest interviewed him. Didn't even want to talk about his original music. Poor guy. Like, Adam puts out his brand new song. All Ryan Seacrest wanted to talk about was, hey, that Olivia Rodrigo Paramore mashup. That's pretty damn good. So, it turns out DJ Cummerbund made pretty much the exact same mashup, which, as I pointed out in a tweet, it's like, that Olivia Rodrigo song is practically a remake of Misery Business anyway. If you listen to it, it's like, oh, it's totally a throwback. It's totally a callback to early 2000s punk pop. We're right on time. It's 2001 or 2021. We're right on time for early 2000s, 20-year cycle of pop culture. You've got people like Machine Gun Kelly, who abandoned rap and is now embracing pop punk, early 2000s pop punk. You've got Olivia Rodrigo doing the same thing. So it was a really, really obvious pairing. Kind of hard to tell whether, he had the exact same idea, which would be totally fair because a zillion people had that exact same idea. Or if DJ Cummerbund was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to post this, a little excerpt on TikTok. Anyway, people pointed it out. I also pointed it out. Adam Music got involved in the thread. It was all civil. It was just like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we made the same mashup. It happens sometimes in the scene. But then, and then what happened? God, and then, okay. And then DJ Cummerbund had also pointed out, it was like, I think it was Victoria Drift had posted something about her. Somebody had posted in that same thread. And Cummerbund said something like, oh yeah, I saw those other crappy versions, and basically called the other versions crappy, which was a little bit disingenuous because, I know part of DJ Cummerbund's persona is like this sort of like wrestling, villain kind of thing. So, it's just hyperbole, but because frankly, all of those mashups sound exactly the same, okay? Every Olivia Rodrigo, Paramore, Good For You, Misery Business mashup, they all sound the same. So, that's what it is, Victoria. Hey, Victoria's here. Actually looking. Yeah, so Cummerbund accused Ada. Oh, wait, yeah, there was a whole bunch of things. I'm getting to that. It was crazy. It got crazy. Victoria sort of called out Cummerbund for like, hey, that wasn't cool to call this, this mashup that Adam made that went viral, to call it crappy. That was kind of a shitty thing to do. I'm paraphrasing everything, by the way. You are free to go to Twitter and go look it up yourself. And then DJ Cummerbund, again, kind of like, pulling off this persona character of, being a wrestling villain, kind of called Victoria Drift darling, and, kind of used language that could sort of be seen as sexist. And it really was just not a good look. And then it blew the fuck up. And a bunch of people, basically, we're talking people like, William Moranci and Victoria and Ada Music. And even I, like, poked in there a little bit, tried to be, a little mom-like, a little diplomatic, but just being like, hey, dude, that might have been a bit much. You kind of crossed the line there. And then it just got ugly. And I guess somebody had sent some screenshots of some private Discord conversation to Cummerbund. Cummerbund thought that Adam Music was racist when there was like no proof and he couldn't provide any of the proof. And it just blew up. And then it was like for a couple days, it was like, DJ Cummerbund was persona non grata. And I know myself and PDS Mix were both sort of private messaging him. Some other people in the community were private messaging him. He kind of got into it publicly with William Moranci. And it was just high drama. And then just 2 days ago, DJ Cummerbund posted a lengthy, obviously heartfelt apology. And it was... and it kind of definitely cleared the air a little bit. I'm sorry I'm not keeping up on the chat pod here. I know things are going on. Sorry here. Adriana will probably react to it when she's done. Yeah, I will. Let's see here. Yes, everything that you guys are posting here in the chat pod, as far as I can tell, yes, you're backing me up on this story and giving a little bit more context, and I very much appreciate all that from everyone's point of view. Victoria, thanks for being here, kind of giving your point of view as well, because really it was your response tweet to Cummerbund, basically calling him out for the crappy quote and being like, hey dude, and then it was really his response tweet to you, which it just sort of blew up. It is, for the most part, It is water under the bridge at this point. I really feel like DJ Cummerbund's apology came from a place of self-reflection. He realized that he was being trolled with thinking that Adam Music was racist. He overreacted. He's, a little bit of an outsider in the community, but he also sort of positions himself like that. But anyway, I know that I have a lot of thoughts about it, and PDS Mix has a lot of thoughts about it. So we're gonna give PDS Mix a call right now. Let's get him on. Let's talk about it. All right.
Hello.
How are you doing, Shane? PDS Mix.
I'm good. I can't see you.
Oh, really? That's weird. I'm wondering what's going on. Well, but you can hear me, and
I can definitely hear you.
And we can hear you, and for whatever reason, you are now huge on my screen, which is completely... it's all...
Just take a second to resize me, I'm sure.
I know. It's always something, though, isn't it? Well, you know what? While I'm resizing you, why don't you just jump in? I've kind of gotten us up to speed. I've described as, it's like definitely the condensed version of the latest drama in the mashup scene. And
did you cover the FaceTime cam again?
What? No.
Tell Skype to use the FaceTime camera.
Tell Skype to use the FaceTime camera. I might need. It should be. Yeah, I thought I was. doing it. Hold on, people. Let's get this set up. Yeah, it is doing the FaceTime. Oh, I know what's going on. I think I had the light covering. I have no idea. I don't know.
Wow, Xperiverse. Tell me how you feel.
Do you see me now?
I don't see you. I've got you up on my phone, so I can see.
We're good.
The delay of you at least.
Okay.
It's fine.
And let me get you sized.
You have your camera on?
Yeah, the camera's on, so no idea what's going on. But believe it or not, everyone, we had this all set up and we had everything sized perfectly, and I don't know what happened.
Skype always does this shit.
I know. I think Logan Mashups might have had the right idea when he was like, "Oh, no one in my generation uses Skype." Because he's young. He's like 20 or 21. I forget how, but he's, around that age. And he was like, "Oh, no one in my generation uses Skype. We all use Discord video." And it probably should have used that. But anyway, all right, you're up on my screen. Let's dish. Let's break it down.
So where did you leave off?
Well, I left off with the point of DJ Cummerbund posted a heartfelt, a very long, heartfelt apology, and kind of like called out individually Victoria Drift, William Moranci, and Adam Music individually, and apologized for, the way. It wasn't even like a half-ass apology, because I was like, "I'm sorry you took it the wrong way. I'm sorry that we had this disagreement." No, he actually copped pretty directly of what the issues were, and kind of like broke character a little bit. He's definitely, if anyone's familiar with DJ Cummerbund's work, which is, by the way, fantastic. By the way, everyone in this drama produces excellent work. Victoria, William Moranci, Cummerbund, Adam Music. Everyone's really, they're really great mashup producers whose work I respect. So seeing everyone kind of like get into it is like a little frustrating. Right. And I think you and I were definitely...
We have a talented community, for
and
sure.
You and I think we're a little bit trying to be diplomatic, trying to see both sides, trying to a lot of DMs flying and basically being mom and dad, I think.
So let me preface what I'm about to say with, I don't play sides, but the main thing that I try to do and that I wish more people would do when trying to communicate, first and foremost, communication is key, not only within our scene, but when talking to people outside of our scene. And the most important thing when communicating with those people is to realize that they're people. And so I don't play sides or try to look at people's sides. I try to look at people as people. Like if somebody's acting an ass or being a dick, I'm going to be like, what's that person going through to try to do that? I'm also going to look at the people being attacked and be like, hey, that's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Like what he said to Victoria Drift, whether he meant something different or not, still was perceived by Victoria as something that was super offensive. And most of our community also saw it that way.
Yeah.
So whether or not you meant it one way or not, it comes off as this, and therefore it kind of is that. So really when it comes down to, everybody getting, and to use a really terrible phrase that everybody knows, everybody's dick got stepped on, basically. And, they get their feelings hurt because everybody is trying to communicate and kind of failing. You very specifically talked about how this entire thing unfolded. And that what really transgressed is something we've seen before. We saw it happen in December or late November of last year with William Moranci, when William Moranci accidentally made the Ghostbusters mashup, and then Tim wound up attacking him for that, and then Palm came in, and then you came in and wrote the article and cleared things up.
Yeah, to give a little backstory.
I specifically want to say go on. Yeah, I want to say real quick, even that is not a new phenomenon. Since the beginning of mashups, people have had, they've been upset about certain things. The only difference is that they were contained within the forums that the disagreements were in at the time. And now with social media the way it is, it can spread out across multiple forums, Facebook, Twitter, like YouTube. YouTube's now got like a little like, kind of a Instagram-ish kind of whatever TikTok thing that you can also make posts to. So I was seeing this split up amongst everywhere. And when everybody maybe only reads part of what happened, everybody's got a different view of what exactly went down. First of all, I'll tell you, it took me almost 3 days because I was busy with a bunch of other stuff to really go through all the different forum posts, all the different, everything that happened. And I wish I had more time to reach out more directly to Victoria Drift or William Moranci. Even my communication with Cumberbund was just a handful of messages on Twitter. And then, of course, I talked to Palm, and I talked to Tim, and I talked to a couple other people, like in private setting.
Sure.
Because the key is that when something like this happens, like say you're pissed that somebody is, disregarding another producer, or you're pissed that they're covering something up. I mean, to a certain extent, they're in our community, whether or not they're participating or not. You can reach out to them and say, hey, this isn't cool, or reach out to other main producers and say, hey, this isn't cool. And then we can try to, if that person's not responsive, we can try a group effort to reach that person kind of privately and be like, yo, this isn't cool. You know
I mean, I think that's you and I both did that. I mean, I definitely reached out to Cumberbund. I reached out to everyone privately. And I think I might have been a little less. You were definitely like, hey, you're asking what's going on with behind the scenes with these people, where I was kind of looking at it as face value and being like, okay, this language, these accusations, all of this stuff is like, like I want to see both sides, but it's really, really hard for me to see both sides with the information that's given. And I was pretty much on top of it. Well, Twitter, I mean, the way Twitter works with multiple threads, it was really hard to kind of keep up. And you're right, also, you factor in Discord and everything else. And yeah, unlike Discord, Twitter is public for everybody. So things do kind of blow up a little bit differently on Twitter.
Yeah, well, Twitter, if anybody knows the drama that happened politically, as well as the drama that always happens on Twitter, it is because there's little context often to short tweets, the same way there's little context to the headline of an article without reading the article. But to go more, let's circle back to something that I said earlier, and that is that producers in our scene are often not people who not only have the fame and the celebrity, but they have money to back it up, to have PR departments, to have handlers or management or whatever else that comes with that, to help, navigate things like this. Here in our scene, because we can't monetize it a lot, or whatever it is monetized is usually only like a quick lump sum of, something smallish, at least at this point, you're often a producer at home struggling with a family, struggling with a job, struggling with everything that just happened because of, COVID, being locked in your house, everything else like that. Right, yeah. Exactly. And so when people see this person that they see as famous or like this giant celebrity, and especially if part of their celebrity is mocking celebrity by acting like a celebrity, it can often not be understood because people buy into that image. And then they go, oh, well, he thinks he's this giant celebrity. But meanwhile, I mean, I've been lucky enough to talk with Cumberbund in the past. Matter of fact, I'm in the process of uploading that interview as per your request to YouTube now.
Yes, good, because I think it does give, like I said earlier, Cumberbund's definitely a bit of an outsider in our scene, but your Masters of MASH interview really kind of like, I just feel like so many people in our Mashup community would be like, oh, hey.
Well, it humanizes him. And that's the thing, is that most all of us haven't met each other in person. We might have seen each other on a stream or looked at each other's pictures on Facebook, but nobody has really gotten the chance to know somebody or actually sit down and have a conversation with anybody other than exchanging texts. And so often it becomes this faceless interaction that you go years knowing somebody by what they've presented via their social media, but not them as a person. And that was really the whole point of why I wanted to do Masters of MASH, and why I will resume
Good.
Masters of MASH
I've
at some
missed
point
it.
once I get
I know a
personal
bunch of
stuff.
us in the mashup scene have missed it. Gives
Yeah.
a nice perspective, especially because there are so many new producers. I mean, there's always new producers, and I feel like the past year with everyone in lockdown, there have been so many fabulous new people. And getting for these new people to get a sense of history, because you've said this before, so much of mashup history is just erased. It's our scene is too small to have like a lot of shit written about it, and what has been written about it are on websites that don't exist anymore, producers' tracks that got wiped off the internet, people's channels got deleted for copyright infringement. So it's like our job to sort of like, hey, no, our scene does have a history. And circling back to what sort of started this whole thing has been a piece of our mashup community's history since almost the beginning, which is, hey, what's it like? What happens when a producer basically does a copy of another producer's mashup idea? And, was it done intentionally? Was it done because they thought they could make it better? Or did they just have the exact same idea? And like I said, in this particular case, when you're dealing with like a really easy idea, you're going to have multiple issues. William Moranci, when he had and I see you in the chat, William, nice to see you here. I know you had the same issue where you got a couple call outs from people in the community especially from Tim from Radio Clash, of like, hey, this track's been done before, and all you had to do was Google it. And, it's like, I'm not sure if that's something that people are aware of that one should do when you're making a mashup, But it's but how do we deal with it? And I kind of feel like other producers call you out and are like, and I hate to say call you out, but other producers point out that, hey, this has been done before, and you can either handle it well or handle it poorly.
So I'm going to go ahead and give props to William Moranci, because when he first got attacked for making his mashup, in the article that you posted, matter of fact, you might want to post a link in the chat to the article about William Moranci getting attacked initially, that you had the sit-down talk with Palm and with Tim, and that William Moranci kind of has it right, and that you're not going to be able to stop people from coming up with the same idea. You're not going to stop people from wanting to have that kind of rivalry of like, well, yeah, I hear that, but that kind of sucks, and maybe this is off time or whatnot, and so I'm going to do mine. And or somebody who's literally going to do something that is somewhat unethical. The key is that we can probably, it's probably best to call it out within our scene amongst each other, and then maybe try to approach the producer and say, hey, this isn't cool. But going online and immediately flaming someone and then letting your entire fan base then attack that person. I mean, again, this is a person. You don't know what they're going through. Like in this more recent, thing that happened, like Cumberbund was already dealing with a bunch of Trump conservatives who were like mad at him for, making a joke about, what's his name, the prosecutor for Trump being on the same
Cameo.
What's this thing called? Cameo
Yeah.
with him, and giving him a shout out. So not only was he getting attacked there, but he was also getting attacked from liberals because they thought that it was somehow Trump related. So he was already getting a lot of hate mail. Plus he has been posting for the last couple of months, people who are getting mad because he won't do requests or do like whatever, and literally just giving him death threats.
Yeah, I mean, the death threats is crazy, but I mean, internet stan culture, I guess. I mean, that's,
and so
yeah,
it took me a minute because you tried to go through some of these chats as well over this last drama. I wound up going through all of them as well. The one where Cumberbund is saying, hey, I'd smash your face in. He's actually not talking to William Moranci in that. He's talking to another person who is piled in, who's literally their entire persona on Twitch is a giant troll of like, you ain't shit, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. I'll do this to you. Like literally kind of doing quasi death threat stuff anyway. Like on their Twitter bio, it turns around and says, I got kicked off Twitter because I said that this video game should die. You know? And so often people don't see the other people attacking people in that moment and can easily, you know, read something and say, hey, they're talking about me in this moment. Like he was talking about, you know, Moranci peeing his pants or whatnot. And everything that he said was inappropriate to say to Moranci, as well as inappropriate to engage with that person who was threatening him. He should have been the adult, put his phone down and let it lie. But often when you are literally at your rope's end, you're juggling a bunch of stuff. Sometimes people in the moment don't have the spoons to really, you know, like say I'm going to do the right thing. So that's why I'm really glad that when he did make his apology, by the way, we've all seen a bunch of really shitty apologies from celebrities and whatnot in the past. I honestly think this is a pretty decent apology. But also I will add to that both Victoria Drift and Departure are very right in still having their feelings about that. You know, they can accept the apology, but still feel raw about the situation. And just like Cumberbund said at the end of, I think, at the end of his thing, he's like, you know, I still have to work to like, you know, win this kind of respect back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and one of the things that one of my big points, one of my big takeaways is when producers sort of self-isolate away from the greater mashup community, these sorts of things happen so much easier. Well, two things. Number one, they're, you know, remaking tracks perhaps in a vacuum and not realizing that it was like, hey, this other person in our community made a track and it went viral. Well, if you're just so like in your own little bubble, then, you know, then you're not going to notice that. But it's like, break out of your bubble. Like you
I have a problem with that perspective.
Okay, but why? If you're doing a thing, then I feel like you should be interested in other people who are doing the same thing as you, or at least if not actually legitimately interested, you know, at least kind of keep tabs, keep your eye on things. And granted, I mean, mashup culture is massive and huge, and there's only a small amount of people doing it, but they're scattered to the winds. But which is why I think one of, you know, Booty Mashup's, you know, goals has been sort of like bring people together. I always reach out and try to like, you know, introduce people to be like,
right, collect mashup scenes like Pokemon, for sure. But also understand that Booty Mashup is its own sphere, and it doesn't negate spheres that exist outside of Booty Mashup. The key is that there's so many different areas and a lot that don't talk to us. Like you've talked in the past how much you hate that, you know, White Panda won't respond to you. You're upset that quite a number of people that are really big just don't want to talk. And that's honestly up to them. We have to respect their space.
Sure, but I can also you know, say that, hey, they kind of come off as a little arrogant and full of themselves
but that's a perception, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's a perception because they come off as like, let's put it this way. I've been in bands for years. If my band didn't want to play with other bands, we book our own shows, and we're the only band on the bill. We don't have opening bands or closing. We don't play with any other bands. And those other bands that people say that we always sound like, we don't sound like them. We're way better. Like, you would think that band are a bunch of arrogant assholes. It's the same sort of perception.
Well, I'm going to read something that you said that you and I had talked about earlier. And I said that when you were talking about people self-isolating, I said, I think that you're close. That's the way that we bring people closer into our community. I was like, we don't I'm sorry. I disagree that the way that we bring people closer into our community is to call them out publicly, watch them spin out, and then feel shame and guilt for handling the entire thing poorly. I said it also sets the expectation that others deserve and will get the exact same treatment within our scene, that we should be, you know, publicly shaming people and jumping onto people and doing all this other stuff. And then things will be smoothed over, and then they'll be closer to us. Cause I know that that's what's happened in the past. It's like we've all worked hard in the last year to foster the communication relationships that have gotten to us this point. Our community is seeing lots of productivity and is flourishing, but with this growth comes communication pains. So yeah, we need to find a better way to communicate with those outside of our scene than to turn around and say, we think you're arrogant, fuck you, you've done this, blah, 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 and then let people pile on them.
Right. Which,
like,
I mean, which does happen. I mean, certainly that happened with William Moranci, you know, where it was like, hey, you did this mashup that was done years ago. And,
right.
you know, and now I think, but, you know, and props to William, it's like I see him interacting more with other producers. And I think, yeah, there was definitely a better way for, I would say, Tim from Radio Clash was probably, you know, one of the worst, you know, the people like, hey, you. But yeah, is there a way that we can sort of like draw people in, but also if they do something that seems a little questionable, then how do you bring that to their attention without alienating them as well?
Well, again, when we talk about, you know, a scene and there are certain leaders in the scene and people that are elders in the scene and wherever else like that, we should know to have seen enough of these things happen to know that how they go wrong, and then try to insert ourselves just like you and I did in a comfortable way to slowly bring things around into the right outcome that we want. Right. Think of this. I'm not a cat owner, but I know enough people who own cats to know that if you're bringing multiple cats into a household, you don't just dump the cats into the same room together.
Separate them.
You literally have to separate the cats, put them in their own room, let them get used to that little room that's off to the side. Maybe they'll see under the door that there's something on the other side. And then slowly you open the door and let them come out whenever they want. And I feel like that's kind of what we had already started to do with Cumberbund. But, you know, he still was kind of in his room and would come out occasionally and interact with us. I'm not calling DJ Cumberbund a cat, but I am saying that, like, once again, we are all people, and we need to start seeing each other as people in the scene, people that are, especially with people with huge, high output, like Cumberbund or William Moranci or whatever else like that. I have watched William Moranci struggle with his feelings about, you know, rejection on his social media, dealing with people bullying him on his social media. Like, he is very forthright with, you know, how his feelings are on his social media. Cumberbund isn't. Cumberbund has a not only a facade, but layers of a facade in order to shield his family and shield his own personal, you know, history. Like, I was able to, on the interview, probably uncover more of his history than he probably would have liked in the moment. But he very much was like, no, I want to be honest with this. And so, like I said, I am uploading this interview. I really would encourage everyone to go watch this, because again, it does humanize this producer, as do all of the interviews that I do on Masters of MASH. I also want to take this moment to thank William Moranci and Mastermind and, oh God, fuck. Who's the other guy that just recently started doing interviews that I was pointing you out to?
Inanimate Mashups?
Inanimate Mashups. People who are taking the time to have these conversations, to document history, to do charts, things that help create a history that will hopefully be preserved going forward, to be able to look back and say, oh, give context to this period. That's what we need more of in this community. We need more people writing blogs. We need more people writing reviews and interviewing each other. And even when it comes as artists, I'd like to see more producers actually come out from behind their computer and make a little bit more of a persona other than just, you know, their username, you know, or be real about yourself on your social media and be like, hey, I'm a person, you know what I'm saying? That way we can really see what you want to present. And also, it's not invalid to want to have a facade or to have like a persona or whatnot. That's marketing 101. And to a certain degree, as like professionals, and I say professionals in the loosest way possible, because most
of us aren't really getting paid, but as
aren't paid, and we're not really professionals because we don't really know a lot about stagecraft. But there are people that know about stagecraft, and to a certain degree, we do need to go behind the scenes and work shit out and not force people to break character. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though you're right, and Cumberbund understands this, he went too far.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And you know, and he got shit for it. I also can't help but wonder, and Cumberbund has talked about this. William Moranci has talked about this. A lot of us in the community have talked about a generational divide between, you know, the old guard, the old school, and then you know, and then all these new producers.
A lot has happened in that time,
Yeah.
Adriana. I mean, we didn't have half the social
Well,
media
exactly.
we have. The whole world has changed politically and technologically. There's so much that's happened. There's no way that we can engage in the same way. And I wanted to give you an example before I have to go. And I do have to go because I have to get ready for the thing. I'm doing happy hour here.
Yes.
Yeah, and you kind of know what I'm about to do, so don't.
I won't.
I wanted to point out something that happened in 2005. In 2005, Party Ben heard the new Coldplay track and heard that the guitar riff in it sounded like the synth lead in a Kraftwerk song, and he put out the song "Computer Talk" in 2005. You know this because he's part of your crew. You were right there when that happened. At the exact same time, RIAA made the
producer,
exact same
Mr.
mashup called Craft Play. And when that came out, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle on Gaibo, but not really. And they had themselves a talk, and they both realized that, look, it's just that mashup was so obvious. It was such an obvious mashup. And if anything, it was reflected more recently by Kelexandra's mashup of
Midnight Sky and Edge of 17, Stevie Nicks.
Yeah. When she put that out, another producer did the exact same mashup, and it was honestly almost as good as hers, but it wasn't perfectly good as good as hers. Within like 8 hours of her posting hers, and then within 2 days, I think there were 4 or 5 other people who had done kind of the same mashups. But the key is that hers was the one that shined on its own. Now, if any of those people had really known each other or had been a part of a scene, maybe there might have been some kind of like kerfuffle. But all of those producers were just kind of like on their own, only maybe ostensibly knew about Booty Mashup or whatever else like that. And I'll tell you, Adriana, whether you realize it or not, think of Booty Mashup as the tip of the iceberg. There are enough people out there making mashups and enough scenes out there that it's much larger than what we've been able to pull together right now. But the more we pull together, the more strength we'll have, the more chance we'll have to break through and fight some of the corporations that are, you know, pushing their copyright strikes on us and whatever else like that. And then really decimating our fan bases, decimating our scene, and really keeping us crabs in a barrel, keeping us fighting over this little bit of like recognition that we get, as opposed to working together to try to be like, hey, let's produce better product, you know, and let's achieve some goals here and maybe work with the industry to do something like what, and I'm going to say it, like Amorphous has done. Like Amorphous just got his own New York Times billboard, has been like doing amazing stuff. And there needs to be more stories like that in our scene, because there's a ton of talented producers. It's just, we need to learn how to get management. We need to learn how to play by some of the industry's rules as far as like how to show them that production is actual work. And sorry, I do have to go, but the last thing I want to say is that this entire thing doesn't help our scene, this fight that happened publicly. I know that, you know, eventually things get smoothed over and then we wind up a little bit closer together. But the people who watch this, the audience, our fans, they complain about, you know, whatever happened to unity in the scene. I'm tired of mashup producers doing whatever. And then they denigrate how serious mashups are. The thing that stuck in my craw the worst is I read somebody say, well, mashups aren't even that hard to make. I made 100 Death Grips mashups just last month. And that's kind of tantamount to saying, I got this piece of paper here, I'm going to splash some blue paint on it. Art isn't that hard, right? You know? Look, mashups can be as crappy as that. Art isn't that hard, but they can also be this amazing thing. And the great thing about Booty Mashup and what you do and what we do as DJs and stuff like that, and what the groups do, is we elevate the ones that are the best within our scene in hopes to be able to convince others that, hey, these are the best mashups. These are what mashups can be. And eventually, if we work together, we can push that into a much wider audience than we have right now. Right now, you've got what, 14,000 people that are followers on this channel.
Yes, and
Right. And
then you look at 200,000 followers that Cummerbund has, the 100,000,
right, but that's his audience.
Yeah.
Again, like, he's not having these conversations, and people are complaining that he's not in our scene, so he's not even forwarding our conversations. Again, you are hearing some of the reflections of like our ethos and stuff like that through William Moranci when he's doing his was it reviews of mashups from other producers, which I think is an amazing community building show. But again, look, as you know, we could talk about this forever.
Go away, PDS. You've been amazing.
I love you guys. Remember, see each other's people. I love you.
Bye, PDS. Thank you. And you are going to be seeing him in what do we got here? 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Usually we sort of take the little interview right up to the edge, but he is actually going to be doing happy hour for tonight's theme, Anything But Humans, and he's also filling in for DJ Airson. So, but you can obviously see why I wanted to, I was so happy that we had already sort of set up this him to come on Mashup Talk. But then after the kerfluffle of this past week, because PDS and I have been like texting each other and sharing screenshots and kind of arguing the pros and cons of the situation, and and I think each of us tends to play devil's advocate a lot when we talk to each other. And sometimes I may not even really have a strong opinion, but I see strong opinions from other members of the community, so I try to voice that as devil's advocate to kind of get a differing viewpoint. And it's like, this sort of thing doesn't happen that much in our scene, and I think it's because we're still pretty small, and a lot of us in the mashup community are kind of like just off, making mashups and, maybe throw them on YouTube, maybe upload them to Soundhouse, maybe hope they get front paged on Matchsticks, but aren't really interacting all that much. And I think it might be because both Shane, PDS, and I think both came up during a time when music scene culture was so important. I know PDS with a lot of DJ stuff, myself always being in bands. So, you kind of you find your people, and if the scene grows and, elevates, you kind of take your people with you. And I think both of us come from that viewpoint, and that might be a little different these days, where everyone's got their own little channel, their personal brand, and they just try to milk that and go as hard as they can, but without necessarily connecting with a greater community at large. So there's definitely a bit of a generational divide as well. But I am seeing comparing a lot of the conversation about the drama that happened this past week happened on two different Discords. And if you're familiar with my Wednesday afternoon or evening, depending on which time zone you're in, if you're familiar with my listening party, I kind of compared and contrast the Crumple Bangers Discord and the Mashup Kingdom Discord, two Discords of mashup producers that doesn't actually have a tremendous amount of overlap. And I think part of my idea was, let's get these together. Let's introduce the Crumple Bangers to the kind of stuff Mashup Kingdom's doing, and introduce Mashup Kingdom to the kind of stuff that Crumple Bangers is doing. And there's definitely Crumple Bangers, I think, skews a little older, whereas I notice in Mashup Kingdom, it's definitely a lot of teens and people in their 20s. And it's like in Crumple Bangers, random conversations revolve around music culture and genre clashes and things like that. Meanwhile, in Mashup Kingdom, it's a lot of talk about social media stuff, current news and music and current and YouTube algorithms, quite frankly. But both of these groups are doing this thing that we all love, which is making mashups, taking two or more songs and putting them together to create something new. We're all united in this like fairly broad music genre, but all come at it from different points of view. And as I throw a party for a living. This is what I do, is I bring people together. So the one thing that I noticed I just gravitated to naturally over the course of 15 months of being socially isolated, not throwing events, not throwing parties, not seeing faces, is actually connecting with these same people in an online environment. And it's been fantastic, but obviously not always without its drama. But like PDS Mix was saying, we get stronger as a community the more we see ourselves as a community, as a scene, and we bring other people up with us, which is why I've always been, sort of championing that. One of the great things that Booty Mashup used to do, and I'm looking forward to doing it now that we're starting parties again, is like, oh, hey, you're a producer. We like your tracks. We play them a lot. Come to the club. I will buy your plane ticket. Probably can't afford to pay you that much, but I can buy your plane ticket. Put you up, like you sleep on my sofa bed. I'll feed you. You're going to meet everybody. Everyone's going to love you. You're going to eat and drink for free and get introduced to, I think there's really something to be said. There's a big difference between posting your mashup on a social media platform and getting likes or posting it on YouTube and, getting clicks and comments versus playing it at a club and seeing people just literally immediately react to it. And they love that song. And then the vocal that you grafted into that song yourself that no one else is expecting suddenly comes in and people lose their shit. I mean, there is immediacy. That's the word I'm looking for. There is immediacy to that is really refreshing and is different than, I'm not saying one is more valid than the other, but there's really nice immediacy to, Lewis Wig, and we can even do that on our Twitch channel too. This is why I love the chat pod. You guys are our proxy crowd in a nightclub. Instead, you're here in the chat pod. And that's another thing that, especially now that we are going to be doing real life parties again soon, and I think a lot of the DJs on my team, we might be stretching ourselves a little thin. A lot of the DJs aren't just Booty Mashup DJs. They're also DJs at other clubs and other events. We might be stretched a little thin, but I love the programming that we're doing. So I want to, Lewis, you are welcome back anytime. Totem, get your live streaming stuff going. Smash Color, join us on here. I want to be able to bring more people into the fold. And I might be all mama, everyone sing kumbaya, but yes, more guest DJs. I love that. And this is why, this is one of the reasons why I try to bring together all the various factions, all the various people of mashup culture, because I've been very, very, very lucky to have created a forum and an outlet for this very particular style of music. And I'm very fortunate that you all are here to appreciate it as well. And that's not something that you take for granted. And that is also something that I would like to share with other producers, because it's, I fucking love mashup culture. What can I say? Even though we are often a dysfunctional family, I think in many ways we are a family, and part of what gives it that family vibe is that what we are doing is still relatively, in the greater picture, the greater music scene, what we're doing is fairly small at any given moment, and it's always been this way. I always say at any given moment there are like no more than 100 really good producers out there in the world. Like, and I think that was the case in the 2000s, and I still think that's the case. I think there are more producers now than there were back then, but still, the really good ones, at any one time, there's never more than 100. I don't know. I mean, please prove me wrong, but then that's just going to make more work for me. But, you know, I'm also the same person who just sent out 250 mashups, and it's only like June 3rd for the June mashup pack to my DJs and to our Patreon supporters, just because there's been so much. So, yes, Totem, I know you did Crumple Stock. Let's do a booty mashup set. So yes, all you producers out there, I'm just going to say this right now, if you are a mashup producer and you want to do a guest DJ set on the Booty Mashup channel, hit me up. Super easy to get a hold of. Any contact info through any Booty Mashup channel or platform, it all goes to me. It goes to me. I don't have somebody reading my mail for me. Just like PDS says, we don't have managers and assistants. So, that's how it goes. All right, we are pretty much almost ready to go here. I hope PDS is ready. And thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for being part of the Booty Mashup channel. Thanks for being part of this conversation. I know that this might have been like a little bit of a a small, microcosm thing. I was like, oh, we had a little bit of drama. I mean, I even said this to Cummerbund, like in the grand scope of Twitter mobs and Twitter drama, this was pretty small potatoes. It was like, maybe 10 or 15 people chiming in on comments and trading a few things around. Meanwhile, there are so many people who I follow, like YouTubers and stuff, Lindsay Ellis, canceled. Natalie Wynn from ContraPoints, canceled. It was all like Twitter mob stuff. So, having our little Twitter drama this past week really put things into perspective, where it was like, oh, it was like that. It was like that, but because we're a part of that conversation, definitely wanted to talk about it. It's Mashup Talk, people. We're back to Mashup Talk. Talking about mashups, talking about mashup scene. So anyway, thanks everyone for being here. It is time. It is not time for DJ time yet. He'll be up later. It is almost time for filling in for DJ Airson, who has the week off. It's happy hour, anything but humans with PDS mix. And peace out, everyone. I will see you tomorrow night. It is Jupiter Gatling and I here DJing tomorrow night for the last party not at DNA Lounge. It's the last every Saturday starting next week. We will be streaming from DNA Lounge. So I guess the global pandemic is almost over. I got my second shot today. We're gonna go chill and get your dancing shoes on and hit refresh if you don't see PDS mix. Thanks everyone. Ciao.